Why is there a steady increase in youth violence today, in your opinion?
Okay, in my opinion, the steady increase in youth violence, because from my experiences, most of the youth that we intervene with mainly have a problem with the foundation of what youth stand for today, and that is education.
Okay.
Most youth are school age, meaning that their main function is to be focused and to get education. A lot of youth are not getting education. They're coming to school, and a lot of them are doing everything else but going into the classroom and focusing on the instruction given. So, in my opinion, that's the reason for the rise of violence. When you have youth not concentrating on education, they're concentrating on something else. Again, when Officer Battaglia was on, he mentioned about the 3 youths last weekend, who were found murdered, and one incident where a youth had been killed. It was supposed to have been accidental, and in all those cases, you have a situation where even in the paper I read, at least two of the individuals have dropped out of school, have gotten previous records, for either for drug selling, possession, things of that nature. So again, when you talk about things that happen, you look at the individual and the background, and oftentimes, that individual has been plagued with problems, has been plagued with poor performance in school, and things of that nature. So if you can eliminate the individual lack of performance, if you can eliminate the individual from doing those types of things in the community, get them focused on education, then you will solve a lot of the murders and the other type of things that goes on negative among youth.
Being young is not easy at any age, and the pressure that the youth are experiencing today, coming from a background of being a drug addict, a drug dealer, and the whole 9 yards, and I put myself back in those days when we used to look at that life as a glamorous life. We used to look at it as, the gold, the money, the prestige, um, the ability to control people, to tell them what to do. I mean, there's appears to be some glamour in that life, but in all actuality, it's a short-lived life.
Yes.
It's a very short-lived
Yes, it
life
is.
because what happens is you get into that life and you become a drug dealer, you become a drug user, and you put yourself in jeopardy, you put your family in jeopardy, your children, the whole 9 yards, and your community and society as a whole. Now, when you go in and you try to use intervention measures with these youth, again, being genuine is very important factor.
Yes.
You have to be. And relating your own experiences is important too. But how do you maintain their attention? It's like, well, Johnny's over here and he's doing this and look at him and I want to be like Johnny. But then you say, well, Johnny is not going to be here long, God forbid, because that's just the aura of that type of lifestyle. How do you convince the youth that that's not the way to go?
Again, just by example, a lot of times when I'm not in the schools and I'm in the community, I walk around with the youth and in the communities and show them individuals, who use drugs or who sell drugs, who's on the corner drinking, being disruptive. And these individuals aren't youth; these are adults. So I say, if this is the life that you choose, this will be your conduct in the future. Is this the way that you want to go? And just seeing that picture, first thing they say is no, because they can never see themselves like that. But again, when you talk about the glamorization, that's just a facade. They look at, what they see on TV. You see a lot of drug dealers on TV, and they are, people who are looked upon as more esteemed than anyone else. But in reality, the majority of drug dealers out here are petty and poor. That's the realism of it all. And I try to show them that drug dealers that you see become hooked on drugs. Drug dealers that you see, don't own property, don't have nothing. A lot of them, still live at home. So it's not as glamorous as you may think. Plus, again, when I try to turn them on to education, I show them that, getting knowledge can not only give you a job, but also, it could give you earning power.
In your interaction with these youth, our youth, do you find that the undercurrent is the lack of attention, the lack of love, the lack of wanting to be accepted, does that ever come out in your interactions with youth? That all they want is love, all they want is somebody to talk to, all they want is somebody to hold their hand and guide them. Do you get any type of feelings like that from these youth?
Yes, that's precisely, I believe, the main symptoms that a lot of the youth are suffering from, what you've mentioned, all the above. A lot of times, like, if you bring someone into this world, and the parents' job basically is to raise that child, nurture that child, so as that child advances in life, to be prepared at every level. And a lot of times, a lot of parents fall short at different levels. In particular, I noticed that when a child becomes an adolescent, that's a period where they go through a lot of changes physically, emotionally, intellectually, and the parents sometimes don't make that adjustment as well as the child does. And that the parents should try to be even more proactive at that point, because there's a lot of things going on in that particular person's life. And if a parent don't take the time to get involved with their kids and understand them and find out what they're about, what they're into, then you will find that a lot of problems and activities will creep up.
Because one of the things that we talked about before the show was how parents can become more effective in their child's development. And when you have parents who themselves are experiencing some type of chaos in their lives, like for example, when I was an active user, my children were neglected, and my family members had to step in. And one of the things that I find with parents who are having trouble, they can't give and provide the nurturing that their children need. And a lot of times you'll find that it was through generations passed down that I can't give you love if I never received it. I don't know how to give it. So during your interaction with the youth, do you get the parents involved?
Okay, one thing I like to say is I respect you a lot for coming on air and basically revealing your past. And a lot of times when people like to reveal things about themselves, you only see, like you said, the glamorous sides of people or the good things they've done. But you came on and you actually admitted of your past involvement with the drug addiction and how it affected you and your family. And that's the point I want to touch on. A lot of parents are in denial. You know, they feel that that they're the best parents in the world. They feel that they're doing that all they can do or the best they can do, when in fact there's a lot of gaps and there's a lot of holes missing in their parenting. And until parents realize that, they really need to focus more on their children, need to get more involved, with them and admit that, they do need help, then a lot of the things that's going on can definitely be prevented.
That's true, and I found that in my case too, because, and thank you for the compliment, and it's truly by the grace of God that I'm here and that he has used me the way he did. And even when I asked God to help me change my life around, my children had to get help too. It was like, not only did I need help, my children needed help. So when you have youth out there who are experiencing problems with their parents, whether it be they're drug addicts or they're alcoholics or they're abusive, they're violent, it's one thing for the parent to get help, but it becomes a family problem.
Yes.
It has a ripple effect. And if the parent takes the time out to get better, then hopefully the child will see that and gravitate towards that too, because it's like the assumption is if I'm a drug addict or if I'm a gang member, then my child is going to be. And that's not necessarily the case, because you have a lot of children who, and particularly mine, they won't smoke a cigarette, they don't want to be near a cigarette, they don't want any liquor in the house, they don't want to be around liquor because they saw the effect that it had on me. But there are some youth who are not as fortunate. How do you deal with that?
Well, it's reality, and statistics can prove it also, that a lot of the youths who are presently incarcerated in the judicial system in Ferris, a lot of the youths who are on the corner selling drugs, a lot of the youths who are doing a lot of things that they're doing that stems from past generational type activity, whereby they may have a father or mother who did the same thing. And a lot of times parents they know the right thing to say to their kids because they know right from wrong. But a lot of times they don't be an example that they should for the kid.
Exactly. Practice what you preach
Exactly.
and do as I say and not as I do.
Because the parent has more influence than anyone. And if a kid see the parent, growing up seeing the parent do particular things that's not right, then they feel it's okay for them to do it. And if anyone else tell them, no, you shouldn't do it, then they wouldn't tend to try to believe them right off because they look at this person who they admire and look up to more than anybody doing it. So for the parents, and everybody got habits and things that they shouldn't do, whatever, but the parents need to use more discretion, or the parents need to really check themselves and see what they're doing and make sure they're setting that proper example again, so the kid, once they get older, they wouldn't follow suit and do the same thing.
Okay. So in essence, it starts at the home.
Yes, it does.
And when it starts at the home, then it evolves into the community, which brings me to my next question. You hear a lot of community projects, you hear a lot of special interest groups. Could you tell me, in your opinion, how effective have communities and special interest groups been in helping our youth?
Okay, well, my opinion, and I'll be honest, that's how I like to, that's how I like to present myself. I feel that for the most part, a lot of community-based agencies, especially in the inner city, fall short of reaching the goals of educating our youth, getting them on track, identifying them. Reason being is that you have a lot of individuals who are at the helms of these organizations who were at the helms of them when I was growing up as a kid.
Okay.
And a lot of their training and thinking and action towards problems today, is reflective of the ideals and concepts they used back in the 70s. And so, again, I must say, if you really want to be effective, then government, whoever overseeing these entities, need to really look at the leadership, and if it's not doing what it's supposed to do, you need to do whatever it takes, to correct it. And so until that happens, you will see basically the same things that's going on. And the thing about it, there's community centers and agencies where individuals may live right around the corner from the agencies and won't participate because they don't view it as a place that's enriching and nurturing. And that saddens me, because you're talking about multi-million-dollar facilities that was put in place to do with this very thing. And, they're just not doing it. They're just falling short.
And what also happens is that, because we are talking about the Wilmington Police Department and we're talking about the proactive measures they have taken in the different programs, and you have the community or the families relying on other people to take care of their problems, like the Wilmington Police Department. And so when they come in and they have proactive programs, people don't necessarily utilize them all the time, or they're not utilizing them in great numbers. And from what I hear you're saying, and from what I heard Officer Battaglio said, was that it has to be a home effort, a community effort, a society effort, for all of these issues to be addressed and to sit down and to find some type of remedy for them. And one thing I like about your particular unit is that you're out there.
Yes.
You're out in the mix, and that makes a difference, because a lot of people can say, well, come to me, come to me. Sometimes you have to go to them, because people aren't that willing to come to you when they're crying out for help or they need help. But I do want to thank you for all the information that you provided to us. I'd like to have you on my show again soon.
My pleasure.